G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with an FIA Manufacturers Cup combination this time. We are at Red Bull Ring in Group 3. So FIA Manufacturers, it's not actually something I did too much. I did a few of the first stage in the 2020 series, and then I did none of the second stage, and then none of most of the third stage, and this was like the third last race in the year basically for the competition. Red Bull Ring in Group 3, and of course, having chosen Toyota, we are using the Toyota Supra racing concept. So this car, I like this car, I really enjoy how it drives. It's slidey, it's oversteery, but if you can control it, like I think I've managed to understand, it's actually a really good feeling car and it can achieve quite fast lap times. Speaking of which, we're going to go out for qualifying on racing soft tyres, of course, the softest available for this combination, and we're going to have a tour of Red Bull Ring. So we'll go through a lap here at Red Bull Ring, braking on the 100 metre board into third gear for turn 1, and then out and really careful on the curb on the exit as the guy ahead, my slipstream, didn't quite understand, and he's gone sliding off into the absolute oblivion. So we're going to head up through turn 2, which is this very shallow left-hander, and then into turn 3, braking just before the 100 metre board, definitely before the 100 metre board. First gear in this car, it's going to be slidey on the exit, but if you can control that throttle, you can get quite a good run down this straight towards turn 4. So as we head down the hill towards turn 4, we're not going quite as fast as we were on the entry to turn 3, but the braking point is the same, just before the 100 metre board, going downhill, so that braking zone is going to be longer, and then very careful on the exit as it goes immediately into turn 5, and so you can easily get sucked off into that gravel. Into turn 6, braking just before the 50 metre board, over slow the car for this left-hander here, so you get onto the power early, and then power out to the curb on the exit. Turn 7, braking just after the tarmac starts on the right-hand side, through here nice and gently. Be careful on this curb here for turn 8. It's quite a buggy curb and it can sort of throw the car out of control if you sort of touch it in the exact wrong way. Coming towards turn 9, braking on the 100 metre board, or on the Marshall post rather, and then coming into the final turn. I don't really have a braking point for that, just nice and early, so as to not slide wide past the apex. But across the line, it's a 128.2. We jump out, and it puts us 4th on the grid. So you can see down in the bottom right-hand corner, tyre requirement of hard and medium tyres. We're going to start on mediums, but as always, with the Manufacturers Cup combinations, let's enjoy the beautiful theatrical introduction. How good? They're always so good. I even think the Manufacturers one is better than the Nations Cup intro, even though I do Nations Cup more often. But I think going back to Manufacturers is a nice little treat in terms of the introduction there. They do a wonderful job at those sort of cutscenes. Well done, Polyphony. But let's go on the grid, of course, starting in 4th. We're in fuel map 6 just before the start, and then turn it back down to 1 just before the countdown ends. You do not want the AI to be using all your fuel, as it is a point of contention in this race here. But we'll come through the first lap now, so of course the tyres are going to be cold. Someone's very close behind me as we head through turn 1 here in the Mazda Atenza. I'm not quite sure what that car is strong or weak at. I think just it's a good all-rounder car. It's really good at Interlagos, so I'd imagine it's probably a handling car in that case there. Coming up towards turn 3, go a little bit deep, following the Mercedes up ahead, and the Mazda makes his way through. A little bit of contact on the way through makes him have a poor exit, but it means that he's going to get my slipstream heading down towards turn 4, and if it's going to translate into an overtake, we'll see just now. He goes for a little dive down the inside there, and he is there halfway alongside, but I get the momentum around the outside. I get a little bit of oversteer on the curb on the exit as well, but the Mazda is not able to get past yet, or actually he's looking for a move up into turn 6. I'm braking braking on the 50 metre board, and I'm actually going to leave him quite a bit of space on the inside there. I might as well just let him pass and take the slipstream at this stage in the race, as we want to try and save some fuel. So the idea here, it's not an all-out fuel saver, but you don't have enough fuel to do all 19 laps without refueling. So the fuel saving procedure we're going to aim for is going to be just fuel saving lightly to reduce the time stationary in the pit lane after your tyre change. So that's what we're aiming for here. You lose too much time if you outright fuel save. Some cars can probably do that, but the Supra cannot. I don't think it's too bad on fuel, as you have to short shift the car anyway, regardless of whether you're using fuel or not. But yes, that's that. The tyres, however, on the Supra are not that great. So, very oversteery car. The rear likes to spin up its tyres quite a bit, so you're going to be suffering from rear tyre wear quite quickly, and that, of course, means brake bias towards the front of the car, but not too far forward to start wearing out the front tyres too much. So you can see quite quickly how it's a little bit of a balance in this car here. I tend to do a lot better in reduced tyre wear situations, but this kind of race here, the tyre multiplier was quite high. We're going for a two-stop strategy as well. The multiplier is quite high. Looking up the inside, a Sea Dog heading in towards turn 4 just to throw him off, but he pulls the car up nicely. But yeah, the tyre multiplier a little bit high in this race, so we're not going to be quite on top of the field here, but hopefully we can keep fighting up towards the front. So we've just lost the one position for now, and hopefully, it doesn't. Hopefully this isn't a race where we fall down the back of the field. It does appear to be that kind of race at the moment, as you see as we exit turn 8, the cars up ahead have actually got quite a bit of a gap ahead of me, over 1 second, so out of that slipstream range, which has been reduced to about 7/10 at this point here. But we're going to skip ahead to lap 5 now. Nothing really much happened between then and now. The only thing that happened was the Atenza got ahead of the Mercedes up ahead, and the Mercedes has now made a mistake on the exit of turn 1, which is going to leave him vulnerable down the straight. I'm now within that slipstream range, under 7/10, about 5/10 at this point here, into the braking zone. So the slipstream now, we're going to have to be really careful. He actually goes really wide on the exit of turn 3 as well, so we're going to be firmly behind this Mercedes here. Is it going to leave him susceptible to a move down into turn 4? Hopefully we can get this move up, but I think actually we're looking up the inside there. Does it throw him off? Are we going to go for the move? No, we just pull in behind, so we're just going to remain in the slipstream for now. Is it going to assist with fuel saving, which we're doing at these early stages of the race on the medium tyre here? We don't want to be chewing through all that fuel, making moves up the grid, where you can be doing that later in the race when you've got less fuel and softer tyres. So I think we can talk about the strategy here a bit now. The interesting point here is all 3 tyres are available to use in this race, or 3 of the 4 technically, but we never use super softs. All the hardest 3, hard, medium and soft tyres, racing tyres, are available for this race, but only 2 of them are mandatory to use in the race, the medium and the hard tyre. So you could potentially go for a one-stop strategy using the mediums and then going onto the hards, or if you're starting at the back, hards onto mediums. Or you can minimise the hard stint to 1 lap, do a few laps on medium, and then stretch your soft tyre to do maximum amount of laps as possible. That's kind of what we're going for here, but seeing as we didn't start right up the front of the grid, we decided to start on medium tyres, so a little bit of traffic at the start of the race, but the hard tyre just leaves you too susceptible to moves on the opening stages of the race, which can really cost you in the opening stages, obviously, when the cars are so close together. So the medium tyres I felt was a nice happy medium, especially considering we're starting in the sort of top end of the top 10 of this kind of race here. So as you can see, we're fairly comparable in pace to DSO308 in the Mercedes up ahead. In fact, I would honestly say he might be a little bit faster than me, given that I have his slipstream and I'm not quite able to get as close to him as I would like through the stages of Red Bull Ring here, heading in towards the middle infield section here of lap 6. No one's going in for stops yet. Well, I suppose the back of the field has probably stopped by this point, as they probably would have started on hard tyres if they had their thinking caps on at the beginning of the race after qualifying. But if we can just remain in the slipstream of this Mercedes, it's going to be much easier to fuel save, but we don't want to save so much fuel that we have excess at the end of the race. So we've got to try and balance that as best we can as we head through the final corner here. It gets a little bit slippy on the curb ahead, the Mercedes does, and as you can see there, someone goes in for their first stop on the medium tyres. You've got W2W Ben _666 going in with 68% of fuel. Hopefully we go over to a fuel map in a second on my MFD here, which means multi-function display, in case you were interested in that. That's the item in the bottom right corner of your screen that is currently set to radar, and we can see my percentage of fuel. But the fuel gauge, the sort of rough percentage fuel gauge, is on about a third of a tank used at this point. That's on the bottom left of your screen next to the tyre graphic there. As you can see, we're closing towards half a tank of fuel used on lap 7. So it probably is possible, in fact, to stretch this Supra to a no refueling strategy, but we didn't decide to do that in this race here. As you can see, we're just stuck in a little bit of a stalemate behind the Mercedes here. Interesting, up on the Mercedes sort of information above the car, there's a little white number 9 next to the Mercedes symbol. I believe that's the car number, and you're numbered in the lobby in order of DR. So I have number 7 on my car. You can see that on the bonnet. In just a second, when the light stops completely blinding whoever's looking at that part of the bonnet. In fact, it was blinding me. I couldn't see my braking point. Hang on, we'll come back to that. So you can see we swing around to the pits. We both do on the end of lap 7. I've gone really wide through there. Have to be really careful for a penalty on that kind of situation. We go onto the hard tyre and decide not to refuel, as the Mercedes does as well. Exiting the pits now, warming up our tyres. So we're going for one lap on these hard tyres here, as they're really shocking tyres. You can see we move that brake balance forward as well, because we're only doing one lap. We don't have to sort of make these tyres last. We're only doing the one lap, so we might as well get the maximum braking ability that they have to offer. And we're going to come back into the pits now and swap over to the soft tyres for our final stop. Refuel back up to 69%. Mercedes refuels as well at the exact same point. And you can see after the pit stop phase, 2 stops, 1 lap, one after the other. Both of us decided to do this exact same strategy at this point, and you can see we drop out on the track in 12th and 13th position. So that's not too bad. We're not that far back in terms of the greater race. As you can see here, coming around the pit, someone has gone in for a stop now. We're up in 12th at this point, up into 10th now, as 2 people have gone into the pit, so we've driven past those, but of course they had not stopped at all, and we had stopped twice. We were up in 12th, there's somebody disconnected. And as we come through the end of lap 12, you can see the Mercedes up ahead is caught up to the Subaru, driven by GTP legend. We've raced him before, he's quite a quick driver. But maybe the Subaru not quite suited to Red Bull Ring. The straights, you really kind of want a car good in a straight line. So the Mercedes goes for a move up into turn 1. Nice, clean, textbook move, about the best kind of move you're going to get into turn 1. That's kind of good for me. So I could probably tell that the Mercedes driver is a little bit quicker than me, so that when he had slipstream, I was probably going to drop out of his slipstream. Coming into turn 3, the Subaru put on a right indicator, shepherding me through, waving me through up the inside, just knowing that we're not in the same race. I'm not racing the Subaru, I'm racing the Mercedes up ahead. So the Subaru is letting me through there in order to continue my race with the Mercedes. I didn't know that at this point, which is why I was looking behind so much heading in towards turn 4, as I didn't want the Subaru to then go for a move on me. But I looked back on the footage and saw that he actually had the indicator on, waving me through. So that was nice. Our race remains interrupted here. We're a little bit closer as we head through the final corner. He goes over to the right-hand side to minimise the slipstream I get, and one more person goes into the pits as well. So we're up into 5th and 6th at this point. We were 5th, we were 4th and 5th. I think at the start of the pit stop phases. So we're back into our positions now. We're back into position. We're just going to skip ahead to lap 16, where nothing really happened. As you can see, we're just slowly edging our way closer to the Mercedes through the race here, and we're still not able to find a way past. But we are starting to catch up to 3rd and 4th at this point. It's not going to be long before the Mercedes then has slipstream off the Mazda that overtook us at the beginning of the race. And that is probably not going to be good for me, as I'm not quite able to overtake the Mercedes, having slipstream off the Mercedes, and the Mercedes doesn't have slipstream and can still hold his own. So that tells me that I'm only remaining on pace with this Mercedes due to myself having that slipstream. Drinking game for Mercedes as well. You'll be absolutely wrecked by about now after that sentence there. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on that gap. Just looking to fuel briefly. I think we have plenty to get to the end. about 3.5 laps remaining. We did overfuel slightly as well. I prefer to race flat out. I don't enjoy fuel saving, so that's why I tend to overfuel. The driver up ahead made a mistake on the exit of turn 1, oversteers towards the inside. That leaves him susceptible to a move around the outside as he covered the inside, braking on the 100 metre board, using the advantage of the soft tyres, turning in here, a little bit of contact on the way through, and that just means that I get a poor run as I'm forced out wide there. He's got the indicators on to apologise, but I felt as though I may have turned across his nose slightly, not quite leaving enough space on the inside there. So due to myself feeling that, I felt as though that the contact was probably more my fault than his. I didn't overtake him going into turn 4, which is interesting. It's going to prove to be a point of interest as we head on into the race. Perhaps even a little bit of a poor decision not to go for that move there, as that is the closest I'd ever been to the driver up ahead through the entire course of the 17 laps so far, or 17 and a bit laps so far in this race. But we've only got 2 laps remaining, plenty of fuel. The tyres are not looking too bad, so I've managed to kind of keep a alright pace throughout the race, mid 28s, 29s, more so 28s as we get onto the soft tyres here. But you can see we've just dropped off the back of the Mercedes now. I think I was slightly rattled after that little bit of contact with him, setting a 130.2, which is significantly slower than my previous lap of a 28.9, and that difference in the 2 lap times there is more than would be reasonable due to regular tyre degradation. Penalty up ahead for 4th position. I think that's the Mazda from the opening of the race. It's going to serve that penalty going across the penalty line halfway down the straight between turn 3 and 4. So does that leave him susceptible to me? It does, but not in the way I imagined. He completely spins out on the curb on the exit of turn 3 before serving that penalty, obviously quite rattled by the fact that he did have to serve that. So that's going to be interesting. Or I guess that was interesting for me. Gained a position for free, why not? It was actually the guy that started in second, rather. The Mazda is still up ahead in front of the Mercedes, now giving the Mercedes slipstream, so it's going to be pretty much not possible for me to remain on pace with the pair up ahead. Leader goes in, 4% of fuel, medium tyres, so he's going to come in at the end of the race for the hard tyre, which is the desired strategy for a front runner. You want to leave your hard tyres till last, you don't want to fall back into traffic. And it's going to be interesting to see, does anyone else up ahead also have to go in for their second stop? The Mazda does indeed have to go into the pits for 1 lap on hard tyres, so that leaves me up in 5th, looking at the position that I started in. Actually no, we go past the Mazda, of course, seeing as he just went into the pits. We find ourselves exactly where we started, so as you can see, performing quite comparably to our qualifying position. A couple more stops going on behind for the final lap of the race here, and we're going to skip ahead in the race here. We went through this race sort of mistake free until this point here. There's that curb bug, almost completely spun out. Luckily we do have a 7-second gap to behind, so I may have been able to recover a complete spin and still come across the line in 4th, but that's the bug we're talking about, and it is a bug because I've heard other people sort of complain about it. That's not sort of regular curb behaviour, and that is quite a problem here at Red Bull Ring and other circuits. But ultimately, at the end of the day, after quite honestly an uneventful race, a rather boring race, we do come home in 4th. It's going to be decent points, however. This was probably second split. I was doing this race after the week where I did the Group C at Le Mans, Daily Race C, which absolutely killed my DR and SR. That video is available to have a look at as well if you'd like to see what happened. But ultimately, 4th position, we had door number 7, so that's going to put up our DR, and you can see 179 points for Toyota, which is not too shabby. Could be better, could be worse, but at the end of the day, not too shabby, which is really, honestly, all I'm looking for in those kind of races there. But nevertheless, even though it was a boring race, I do hope you enjoyed it anyway. Do hit the like button to let me know if you did, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. Do leave a comment as well. Comments, questions, and constructive criticism is all much appreciated. I do read all the comments, and I will reply to as many as I can. But that's going to be the end of this one today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.